Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Anne-Claire. She is a spirit baby medium and fertility guide. She empowers women to connect with their spirit babies on their journey to motherhood. So this is my brief introduction to Anne-Claire, as usual, but the full bio will be at the end. But the question that I love asking, and I always say this, is how would you introduce yourself? Who is Anne-Claire as of this moment?
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching your podcast and I was like, oh, I never know how to answer that question.
Oh, right.
It's like the story of my life. But I guess if I had to answer now in the moment, there is one word I find, which I find describe me very well, is multifaceted. I'd say that's really much how I am. There is different side of me. I'm a mother. I have 2 boys. I'm a Sagittarius, so I've traveled a lot. I love travel, and I'm very curious about people and people's journey and how they feel. And today, the label I'm going to be using is Spirit Baby Medium. But I'd say there is a lot of label on me, and that's the one I'm going to be using today. And because I love, as you mentioned, empowering women and helping them reconnect to their intuition and to their inner guidance.
That's beautiful. So with that in mind, the idea of purpose, is this what you call living your purpose? Is that something that, as of now, is this something that it feels really close to your heart? And if yes, how did you get here? What's the backstory, Anne-Claire?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I still don't know if I'm fully my purpose. I've done a lot of different things. I feel this is the one I stick to the longest, and that's the one that I feel like I want to grow in, but I can't really say. I think it's almost at the end of my life I'm maybe able to answer that question. But I say, as of now, that's what I decide to focus on. And it's not something I choose, but something I've been directed to. It's almost like, in that case, the spirit babies guide me to that. Or my guides, those my spiritual guides. And how it's happened, there is so many layers to it. It's not just one thing. The biggest one I would say will be when I got pregnant in 2019, and I got pregnant. It was a very surprise pregnancy, and I keep receiving very strong messages from my baby that I needed to do that work, that I needed to help women to connect with their baby. That was really strong. And then I lost that baby toward the end of the first trimester, so through miscarriage. And then, because for me, everything happened for a reason. And one of the biggest learning was to do something with those messages I received. So that's when I started to just put it out there, in the middle of everything else I was doing. I just started to introduce spirit babies, and then women started to come to me. And it just, that's where it grew from.
Yeah. I know this is a concept that we have heard, and it's almost like scientifically proven these days, right? Reincarnation and past lives and all that. So how do you see the soul? What is the soul? And do we design this life before coming here, or there is room for change and redirection?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a soul, and that's my definition. I mean, I think it's a human concept, so there's different way of defining it. The way I usually define it is, the soul exists before incarnation and they keep on living after. And this life on earth, it's like the soul chooses a physical body. So right now I'm in my physical body, but then when my life will be done on earth, my soul will keep on living. And the spirit babies is the concept of like all those souls that keep on living up there and are kind of waiting to come back. And then to answer the second part of the question, like, do we kind of like, is everything set and planned? I mean, I don't have the 100% certainty answer until I will go back probably. But from my experience and my belief, it will be that there is some things that are predetermined and there is still the willpower and room for change. But is it really a willpower fully, or it's like, this is probably debatable.
Yes. But of course, there's a lot of, let's say, a lot of illusion within that realm, right? That we forget that we are divine, and then something else happens. Suffering, per se, sets in. Is that how you see it too? This idea of suffering? Is that why we suffer? Because we feel separate from the divine or our soul's journey, per se?
The suffering part. So I used to live in a Buddhist center, and I have a Buddhist teacher, and it's a really, really big part of Buddhism. The notion of suffering, and basically awakening is coming out of the suffering.
Yeah.
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
It really speaks to me when I find it. I was like, oh, that's what I'm feeling. That is kind of like what they call suffering. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel if we keep focusing only on that, then just for me, feel a little bit too negative. So I'm not too sure.
Yes. Thank you for entertaining that question.
Yeah.
Anyway. So let's go back to, wow, your mission, your vision. I really love that on your website. I see that you say, my vision is one day we will all be aware of our ability to connect with our babies before they are born. That's the vision. And the mission is, my vision is to prepare the path for new souls to incarnate on earth. So that sounds beautiful, mystical, again, like a divine play, right? That we, with the free will that we have, we can make these choices. Mm-hmm. And even, like you say, prepare the path for the soul to come. That's really amazing. Would that make a difference? And what kind of difference would that make, Anne-Claire, if we prepare? And how do we prepare? That's your work, the core of your work, right?
Yeah, so I guess before I specialize into that specific niche, my calling was really to bring awareness to people that there is something bigger.
Yeah.
And then I use that same thing inside like that specific niche. It's like the same thing of like bring awareness that conception is not just the physical and the scientific side. And it is, but there is something behind that. And it's the idea of like, when you look into conception, like let's take the example of conception. If you take the example of conception, yes, you can look at the physical and your diet and what you're doing, but there is also the invisible world, what I call the invisible world, and the spirit world that is in place, and the energy. And then when it comes to pregnancy, I find it has an impact on, birthing your baby is not just, yes, it is birthing your baby out of your body, but there is also this notion of like the soul is fully becoming one with their physical body, and then becoming their own entity outside of yours. And I find when you're aware of all of that before the process of giving birth, then the birth itself can be a very different experience than what it is right now. And I find in that example, if birth is different, then, we hear a lot about like this trauma from birth for women. And if we can reduce that by bringing more awareness, then it's having an impact later on the mother, on the woman, and then on the child in that specific example. But I could do other example. That's just one.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me. The trauma, that's a big one. That can make a huge difference, right? In our lives, the way we perceive ourselves and others in the world. That makes a lot of sense. And with that in mind, what is the goal of life? What comes to mind when you hear that question? What is the reason to be here?
Oh my God, that was since I'm very young, I was asking my dad, why are we here? Like, this was my quest for life.
Yeah.
It was really my quest. And I stopped asking that question when I started to do things. Before I was more, like reflecting, like, what should I do with my life and how should I participate? And I feel since I've started doing things and they feel right, and I see that they have a positive impact, this question kind of is not as present. But why are we here? I believe we all have a different reason for being here. I think before I thought there is only one reason I thought we were here. And I think now my vision is more, I think it's a lot of pressure. If you think there is just one reason and you can't find it. And that was what was difficult for me, is like, I couldn't find it. So I was like, then what the point of being here if I don't have this answer? Was now I go more to what feels right to you, what feels right to like make you happy, feel aligned. I'd say this is part of your purpose.
Yes, I love that answer. Yes. So let's go back to your beautiful work. So, Spirit Baby. The first question might be, who would benefit from your service? And what would be the first step? Do they have to be spiritually inclined or have belief systems that include spirituality, or anybody can join this beautiful journey?
Yeah, it's so when I told you I had this message from my baby, I thought I would attract women who are pregnant. Yeah. And that's what I said, like, more life guide me rather than I choose what I was doing, because actually what's happened is, yes, I do have women who are pregnant, but the majority of the women that come to me, the number one is women who have been trying to conceive for a while, and they've tried a lot of different things and nothing have worked. Yeah. And they start to, when you've worked with fertility doctor and let's say there is unexplained fertility, then you've changed your diet with a naturopath, you've done acupuncture, you've done so many things, and then you reach the point of like, what next? Right. And that's usually often when they find split babies and then when they find me. So that's, I would say, the big majority of the women I worked with. So that's, 80%. And then I worked with women who just lost a baby, like right after a loss, when they really, wanted to, it's like, you want to understand, like, why did I lose the baby? What was it's like there is a big why question, which often bring you to something more than just the medical reason. So that's another type of situation. And then pregnancy, I do have a few, but it's often when there is like a challenge or some question, or like a surprise pregnancy and it's bringing emotion, or like they suggested a termination, or like I thought I would have women who are like really conscious and spiritual and they want to bring that into their conception journey and pregnancy. That's really what I thought will come to me, but that's not what there. So maybe in the future, but as of now, that's not what is there. And do you need to be spiritual? I almost feel that when women come to me, they're ready for an opening and to step more into spirituality and energetic world. So they're not like completely new and haven't heard anything spiritual or energy, but they don't have to know a lot either. So it's like they can be very spiritual, but I'd say the majority I'd almost see, it's almost, I find the spirit babies are opening a path for the mom to actually access more their spirituality.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And that also resonates because that's a spiritual experience, isn't it? And to have a baby. I mean, I'm not a mother, as I mentioned, but do you feel it's, as a mother yourself, that it is very much a spiritual experience to have a baby?
Yeah. It's very funny because it's really both. It's like, it's very grounding in the day-to-day life. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. We have a lot of to-do lists. And sometimes you could think of like, no, that's completely not spiritual. But then when you look at the bigger picture, through those experiences, they're your teacher. Like, if you start looking at them, they're very much in the present moment, like very much. They're very curious about everything. They start doing things or creating that you would not even think of. So in a way, it's helping you break free. If you really embrace those, can help you break free from some conditioning. So yeah, it is both. It is spiritual and grounding at the same time.
Yeah. Another question is about the people that are trying to conceive, women are trying to conceive, and they are not, for some reason, they are not able to, as you mentioned. They go through a lot of processes. I interviewed somebody recently who, Divan. And at some point, I don't know, I have to ask you the question. Would you tell them that that was not a designed for them? Like at some point, if you really see it, that this is not really their journey for this lifetime to be mothers. But then at the same time, why would they be looking for you if that was not their journey, right? So that wouldn't make sense. So talk to me about that. I would love to know how you navigate that realm.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. So usually so in that specific situation you described, women have been trying to conceive for a while and they reach the point of, is there even a baby? Am I even meant to be a mom, or should I give up and just be almost like give me the answer? And if it's no, at least I'm at peace with that and I keep on with my life.
Yes. Yeah.
Very often, from my experience as of now, and maybe it will change in the future, I would say that most women who find spirit babies and then who find me, because usually they find the concept of spirit baby and then they look for someone who can help them communicate with their spirit baby. So they usually find spirit baby first and then they find me. Usually I often say to them that they've been guided, and they often mean there is a spirit babies. And that's would have been my experience.
Yes.
But let's say if someone comes and there is no, I feel like there is no spirit babies or baby on their path. I mean, I have never been in that situation, but let's say it's happened. I don't know what I would do.
Yes,
because it's not my place to say, plus I might be wrong. It might change.
Yeah.
But from my experience, it's all the one that find me, or that even if we'll find this episode and we'll listen to it because they're interested or they're in that situation, most of the time that's mean there is one.
Yeah. So the concept, this beautiful work of spirit baby, is that something what is the history of it? How far it has been here as a concept? Is that something that you created, that came to you first, or it's already?
No, it's I'd say it's quite, I mean, I haven't studied, but I think it's quite recent that it's using the name spirit babies. From what I've seen, and I might be wrong, but for me it's coming from Walter Mackinchen, who wrote the book called Spirit Babies. And he was a medium himself, and he wrote an amazing book that is now worldwide. And so, and maybe I'm wrong, but at least I feel it became to the awareness under that name through Walter in the Anglophone. Because then I'm French from France, and in the Francophone, I know there is some books also on that topic, but they use different names for it. So, I mean, putting a name on it, I'd say it's quite recent.
Right.
The idea of being able to connect with the souls, or medium being able to, I think it's been here for a long time. It's just becoming more and more present, I believe, because there is a lot of more issue and difficulty conceiving babies.
Yeah. Why do you think this is happening now more often, that women are not able to conceive easily? What's the root cause?
I often reflect on that and try to get answer. I think there is different one. I mean, the science will tell you it's because of the age. I disagree with that. Maybe yes, a little bit, but I don't think that's the issue for me. As long as you still have your period, as long as you're still ovulating and have eggs, maybe it might take a bit longer than if you're in your 20s, but there is no reason why you can't conceive. For me, I find the biggest explanation will be how they've been standing up to be able to go to work and earn money and be successful. But this results in them being very much into doing and being strong and being in their masculine energy. And often also then bringing being overwhelmed and stressed and a big load.
Yeah.
Whereas when we go back to conception is about just being. Like, there's nothing you can do. Once the baby is starting to grow, you don't have anything to do. It's just doing it on its own. But the way in my approach conception happen is you need to be in your feminine energy and receptive and open for it to be more easy. If you're always go and trying to achieve things, then the way I see it is almost like your body is more and your cells are more contracted, whereas you want everything to be more relaxed. That's kind of how I would probably, one of the explanation.
Wow. You mentioned that beautifully. I think on your website, you say about being. I love that when I read it. You said, this journey, it's not about simply doing more. It is about stepping into a new way of being. By embracing this process, you're not only preparing to bring your spirit baby home, you are preparing to be the mother they have been waiting for. Mm-hmm. So everything's connected because that has to do with the soul's journey and the purpose of being here, which it's very clear to me that has to do with love. So we need to be ready for that, right? And clear to love. And that's a tall order sometimes to love unconditionally, to be kind all the time, right? That takes preparation. I love to think that way. And I love the way you say it. Yeah, preparing. That makes a lot of sense. And I wish that everyone would do that, go through this process in a spiritual way of conceiving. So we would create, in a way, human beings that are more evolved already. That they would come here and just simply love and be. They wouldn't be caught up in doing. They would know the difference.
Yeah, I guess the love piece that you mentioned, what's very interesting is, and I want to make sure the mom, if there is anyone in that situation hearing us, usually there is no love missing from the mom. They really love their children already. But often they don't necessarily love themselves. So I agree with you, the comment on love, but mom will tend to think of like, oh, but maybe I need to tell my baby that I love him. Maybe he doesn't know that. Very often then the baby knows it. The love is there. It's more like, do you love yourself and what are you doing for yourself?
So there are many methods that you use, including meditation, deep relaxation, dreams. Oh, I love lucid dreams. Intuitive writing, journaling, signs, synchronicities, intuitive feelings, and gut instincts, consulting a spirit baby medium like yourself. So do you use all these techniques with everyone, or it's customized and you know who to use what per se?
Yeah, so those techniques as more the one I suggest if anyone wants to connect with their baby on their own. Those are the different ways it can happen. Yeah. If when they come to see me, the way I usually practice, so there is, I would share the way I practice, which actually I haven't met anyone. We are a few spirit baby medium, not that many yet, but we are a few. Yeah. I just know I work differently in the sense that, at the beginning I mentioned the way I love to empower women, and for me it goes the same with when women comes. You can go see a medium or have a reading or psychic and they just tell you what they see and what's coming.
Right.
My belief is that if I help them to connect to their babies and receive the information from their baby directly, I mean, through my guidance and my energy and everything, but if they receive it themselves, it's land a lot stronger for them and it has a way bigger impact. And also it's bringing back to like, oh, I can do it. And almost like everything is already inside. And so that's usually what I work. It's like women will come, we'll be discussing. I will asking them questions. I'll ask them what question do they have for their spirit babies. And then from there, I will guide them in a meditation and then in the spirit baby world. And we'll see what's coming. So I always say to them, like, no pressure, just be open to receive. And if they're receiving, then great, I'm facilitating. If nothing is coming or if it's just partial, when I say partial is, for example, they're able to see, but not hear, or they're able to hear but not see, or it's just sensation, then I will ask them, do you want me to step up? And then I will tell them what's coming for me. So they will always have at the end the answer to the question. I mean, some question people ask, sometimes we can't really get answers, but most of the time they will have clarity on to why they came and what their question were. It's just the way I'm doing it might be different than others, where I see a lot of my clients crying. Like but if I see it said to them, they won't cry. But because they've really felt it and saw it, then they cry. And I love that. I don't like them crying, but I love that it's touching their heart.
Right. Yes. Yeah. What about, you mentioned, I've read a lot of things that about you and your work. There was the questions so the types of questions your spirit baby can answer. So they are like different categories in the sense of questions regarding their presence, guidance for the journey, healing and letting go, connection and reassurance. So there are different kind of aspects of the journey of questions to ask, and they have different questions. Is that something also that for them to do on their own, or this is a technique per se that you use when you are with your clients asking these specific questions?
Yeah. So, I mean, every session is very different. Like I described to you the framework, but what come out of it is very different.
Right.
There is still the question that women have are often very similar. And so there is like some women who know the question they want, and some who come and they're like, oh, what are the most typical questions? So that's kind of when the one you've seen is kind of me more trying to put out there what are the things that I've seen in my practice. So the majority of the time, I'd say the number one, even if people don't say, we first want to see if there is someone, and kind of take a moment to just feel their energy and connect to their baby, because it's almost the most important. Like it, and that's the thing, is that when you ask me if on their own, can they ask the same question? Of course, the reality is, I'll be fully honest, the majority of women who do it on their own, they will get either not much or mainly sensation. There are some that can really get answers, but it's not the majority of women. So that's why I don't want to go to say like, yeah, you can ask, I mean, yes, you can ask this question and have those answers. But then if I say that, then you'll feel bad if it's not happening to you. So I'd say the majority of the time, you might just feel a presence or see someone. And that's, in my opinion, already really good. But then like with me during a session, then the question will often be, so we'll see who is there. We'll see if there is one or a few. We'll be able to see if it's a boy or a girl, or sometimes it's kind of like undetermined. We'll be able to see what do they need to come, what do they need, if there any connection from any past life, like if they're more connecting to mommy or daddy, or if there is already any siblings aside. So that's definitely the most common one, like what they need. And then in this case of like a loss, like why did they left? Are they going to come back? And if they're going to come back, we say, is there anything they need to come back? And if they're not coming back, then is there someone else here that wants to come? And then we'll shift the communication to that new person.
Yeah. So a question that I had before for you that I forgot was about the personality and the soul. So when the fetus is forming, actually the soul is not there yet. Right. So the soul, is that something, how does it work, Anne-Claire? When exactly does the soul kind of join the physical formation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, so I worked a lot with women who do IVF, so that's kind of shifts my perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe, let's say at natural conception, I believe that as soon as you conceiving, like the baby is already around and is already connected to that process and to those cells. And then it's kind of keep going. I see the first trimester, like the soul is like on and off connected to their body. It's like almost in between two worlds. And that's why a lot of women, when sometimes they can connect with their baby during conception, and then they're pregnant, and then they're like, I can't connect to my baby anymore. What's going on? And that was also my case during my pregnancy. The first trimester, it's not the easiest to connect with the baby in my experience. And I believe it's because of that reason that they're kind of like in between and trying to stay here, but also still over there.
Right.
But so that will be natural conception. In the case of IVF, because then if you take that belief, then you're like, okay, but what's happened with IVF? Because they're already starting the body. So I deeply believe that, and that's what when I worked with women through that process, it's like bringing more spirituality into the IVF process. That's how I call it. I believe that the baby will choose still, their physical body. So because let's say often there is different option of embryo and, the doctor grade them of like grade 1, grade 1. And I believe that the spirit babies is playing a role into that. And sometimes if I'm working with women through that process, we do meditation. When the doctor in some countries, they give you option of like, which embryo do you want to transfer? Because those two are good. Then during a session, we'll connect with the baby and ask them, okay, which one to almost embody each of them and see which one feels right to incarnate with.
Right. Oh, wow. So they are making the choice. The soul.
I think so. Yeah.
Is making the choice. How interesting.
Or it's guiding the doctor to make the choice, or you know what I mean? It's like.
Right. Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That makes sense too. To design that life.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have anything to do with the heart? Because I heard the soul is connected to the heart, to the physical heart. Is that something that you have heard before?
I don't know. That's a great. It's because intuitively, I often do a meditation where the woman go in her own heart and visualize a lotus with a golden thread of light that connect to the spirit babies. And then when I worked with women with IVF, I ask the baby to visualize a thread of light connecting them to their physical body. So I guess intuitively I might be doing something like that, but I never really thought about it the way you're asking it.
Yeah, I heard about that sometimes. I often ask, is there a difference? And then a lot of people said, no, it's the heart. The heart and the soul, they are one and the same. So I don't know. Yeah, it's just, but thank you for entertaining that question too. So now I'd love to talk about your program, which is titled the Bring Your Spirit Babe Home. It's a 12-week transformative journey. How does it work and why did you create the program? I know you answered that question on your website. Why did I create this program? So I'm asking you the same question.
So I think what I've noticed is, a lot of women were coming to do one-on-one sessions. So by everything we talked about today, of like connecting with your baby, getting some answers, which is extremely powerful. And at least if we go back to the case of someone who is trying to conceive or someone who lost a baby, there is this notion of like peace that come with and hope and clarity, which I believe is really important in their journey. But from my experience, I find that for some women, it was enough that they will conceive after, but the majority of them, there were something else that needed to happen for the baby to actually come. Right. And that's why I call it Bring Your Spirit Baby Home. It's like we've done the spirit baby communication where we communicate with the baby. We have clarity. Now we know it's there. And now how can we bring them here? And the way I designed the program, it was based on all the women that I worked with that got pregnant. And then I really took the time to ask them, what do you think was different? What made the difference? Why do you think you got pregnant this time? And obviously it's never like a one-way question because otherwise there would be like this magic recipe that everyone would buy. It's often a combination of things. But that's everything I've included in the program was, that's why it's like a journey for me. It's like a journey of 12 weeks together of transformation. And what comes on the other side is always very, very surprising, often. And there's really this notion of what we talked earlier of basically the mom realizing that, and that's not how I name it, but because we talked about that, it's like, I need to love myself and put myself first. Because the baby is what they want, really. They want their mom to be happy. And they want their mom to make sure they're enjoying their life. Yes. And so there is definitely this notion. And so there is like kind of like a spiritual inner work happening with themselves, but always with the ground, like the foundation ground of the intention of conceiving, getting pregnant, and keep a pregnancy and birth a healthy baby. So there is a lot of like energetic work, lot of meditation to call in your spirit baby, shift your own energy. Yeah.
Wow. Gosh. It's beautiful what you do, though. I have to say it again. Thank you for saying yes to the calling. It's truly beautiful. I mean, I'm biased in a way because I'm devotional when it comes to anything spiritual. I love. I mean, it's just, I can't help it. So you mentioned again self-love, going back to that. So why do we have a hard time loving ourselves? What gets in the way? What's the obstacle? Why? This is a big challenge for all of us.
Oh, that's a lot of things. Distraction, for sure. Like in all the situation I've described, like I'd say in the situation we've mentioned so far, I'd say it's because often the focus is outside of ourselves. And then, if you look outside, then you tend to forget about yourself. So I think that's a big thing. You look for the answer outside. You look for support outside. You think the doctor will know better. You think other practitioner will know better. Same, like, I don't know more than you. Like anyone who is listening, I don't know more than them, but I can help them find the answer within.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons. There's many reasons, but it's kind of this notion of looking outside instead of going inwards, which like can be a barrier to self-love.
Right. So in a way we get entangled and kind of lost and not knowing where to find that warmth, right, which we call love.
Yeah. And there's something that keep coming, so I feel like I'm gonna share it because it's keep being there. Because I was reflecting, I was like, why do I work like that? Like, what was my starting point? Not even spirit babies, but it was like, and I realized that my dad was actually the answer to that question because, when you were asking me at the beginning, what's my purpose and why I'm here and why are we on earth? Yeah. As I said, I had those questions a lot. And then when it came to choosing what I would do with my life, what school would I go, what university, my dad was very present. My parents are both very spiritual. And my dad, the way he answered that, he actually made me lie down and guide me in meditation to meet with my guide and my soul to get the answers. And I was like, looking back, I'm like, that's the best parenting thing that ever happened to me because he didn't try to influence me or it just helped me go within. And that's where I find my answers, which, at that time was like going to Australia and travel and all of that. And it came so strong.
Wow.
That then I was like, I don't have the choice. That's what I need to do. And I think that's what inspired me to do it the way I do right now. And I find also for anyone who is a parent, I love that way of like guide your children to go inwards to find their own answer, because I think that's where it is.
Yeah, it's always where it is. That's the truth. Yeah. But I love the idea of having guides though. I can't help it. But of course I follow my own guidance, but I also love meeting people that will give me some signs, like synchronicities. It's just beautiful. It feels so magical. So it's almost like we are exploring this inner landscape together. It really feels that way because I don't see anything separate from God, from the divine. So everything is one big ball of divinity. So it's not really, and it's learning to see it that way, I guess, making peace with everything. I guess that's what it is too. For me, it came down to that. When it comes to self-love, answering that is just feeling at home anywhere, everywhere, anywhere at any time. If it's going wonderful for the body, mind, or not, feeling at home still. There's something about that brings this very grounded sense of love. For me, it has been interesting.
I love that
to explore. So in that case, your parents, you chose your parents for a reason because they're already, spiritual people. That's amazing. And you would, of course, later on be doing this work. So that was, it feels like sounds very much like a life design.
I think the big difference is my parents both spiritual, but it's hidden. It's like if you see them, there is no way you can say that. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at almost. And now, and being there today, it's like I decided to, before I received the invitation, I actually decided, okay, how to be more visible and accept to be seen with those, what it is and what it look like. So,
Yeah.
it's like how you say sometimes the student overpass the teacher and some your children kind of like go one step further from you. I'd say that would be my parents allow me to get to that foundation, and my own journey is to like, how can you show it and share it?
Yes. How beautiful. And that's all about the journey too, right, Anne-Claire? So
Yeah.
in a way, we cannot really bypass it or try to be what we are not. We try to kind of speed up the process of being spiritual. There's no such a thing, right?
No.
It's a flow again. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I tried not to be what I'm doing right now. I tried for years not to go into medium and yeah.
Saying no to it, right? Like suppressing the gift.
Oh yeah. Like, no way. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
People were telling me that and I was like, no.
Yeah. So talk to me about the free guided meditation that you offer. I know we'll have the link to have on the podcast notes, and also your new website and the services that you offer and the best way to contact you.
Yeah. So I was sharing with you that I'd love to give everyone who is listening access to Spirit Baby meditation that I created, and which allow you like a first step to, try and experience to connect with your baby on your own. And as I said, no pressure, nothing come, something come, everything is perfect. So the link will be below. And yeah, that will be probably the first step that I will suggest you to do. And then if you are interested to work with me, at the moment, there is two ways to do it, either a one-on-one, the Spirit Baby communication, or the other step, which usually they go hand by hand if you're trying to conceive. Usually people start with a one-on-one and then they join the program. And then there is the Bring Your Spirit Baby Home program, if you're on a conception journey, which is a very powerful way to do it. And the way to find me will be through my website, which is www.anne-claire-lebihan.com, and Instagram as well, same under my name, Anne-Claire Le Bihan. And I think everything will be linked below if you don't know how to spell it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Anne-Claire. So all the links will be here, clickable, so it's easier that way. But before we say goodbye, is there anything that you left unsaid? Anything that was a calling to be here?
I'd say trust that if you made it all the way to the end of that episode, that there is a reason for that. I don't know what the answer is, but trust that there is probably something there, and be open to either see what's there already right now when I'm saying that, or, in the coming days or week, just pay attention to sign.
Yes. Gosh, I live for them too. The signs. Yeah, there's always a reason for everything that we are doing. Whatever our attention is going, there's something there. And that's beautiful that you said the word curiosity. I love that word too, the concept of being open. So yes, everything will be here on the podcast notes, more about Anne-Claire. But my last question to you is about freedom. What is to be free? What is your idea of freedom? Liberation, freedom.
I'm a Sagittarius, so freedom is a big thing for me. I guess I can answer for me, freedom that I love having space like in physical space, in like time, like the notion of space for me is really important when it comes to freedom. And also the notion of just like free will, be able to choose and do what I want when I want. I'd say my short answer would be that.
Yeah, it's it really reflects the consciousness itself, right? I think about love when I think about freedom. It's like letting everything be as it is without judging, without trying to change or manipulate. It's just being being almost like resting in this imperfect perfection. So I see what you're saying about time, doing it's almost like the soul is speaking the way you speak about freedom.
Yeah, it's almost for me when you say that, I see it more energetically and then I'm trying to put words on it. It's like
Yeah.
there's this notion of like space and light and almost like flying like a bird. Like I see more like a lot of imagery and more sense, and sensation of like, oh, I have, I can breathe, I can move, and then I can go where I want with my wing.
Yes, you can just take the body with it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for your beautiful timeless wisdom, for letting it flow through you. That's what I call timeless wisdom. It will stay here forever, can never be lost. So thank you for being you,
Oh,
for being
thank
true
you.
to you, and thank you for everything that you're doing. Bye for now, Anne-Claire.
Bye.
We'll
Thank you
talk
so
again.
much.
Thank you.